The massive alien ship appeared suddenly, materializing just beyond Earth's moon. Its dark hull absorbed the sunlight, making it look like a hole in space. Inside the United Nations Emergency Chamber in New York, screens lit up with urgent messages from every space monitoring station on Earth. Captain James Miller stood before the assembled world leaders, his hand steady despite the weight of the moment. At 45 years old, he had spent most of his life preparing for space combat, but nothing had prepared him for this. "The object is 3 kilometers long," he reported, pointing to the holographic display. "It's not like anything we've ever seen before. Our sensors indicate technology far beyond our current capabilities." The room fell silent as new images appeared on the main screen. The alien ship had launched smaller vessels, each one larger than Earth's biggest spacecraft. They formed a perfect line, heading toward Earth in a display of obvious military precision. Then the messages began. They came through every communication channel, broadcasting in perfect English and every other human language. The aliens called themselves the Dominion, rulers of 1,000 worlds across 3 galaxies. "We expected them to be hostile," Miller said later to his crew aboard the EDS Guardian. "Instead, they were worse. They were arrogant." The Dominion's first message made their attitude clear. They spoke of Earth as if it were a curious toy, a primitive world they had discovered. Their ambassador, a tall being covered in metallic scales, appeared on screens worldwide. "Your world has been noticed by the glorious Dominion," the ambassador announced. "We have watched your progress from afar. Your species shows potential. Limited potential, but potential nonetheless." Miller remembered clenching his fists as he watched that first broadcast. The alien spoke with the tone of someone addressing small children, explaining how generous they were to offer Earth a chance to join their empire. The meeting between humans and the Dominion took place on neutral ground, the International Space Station. Miller led the human delegation, accompanied by scientists and diplomats from various nations. The Dominion sent only 3 representatives, clearly believing no more were needed. "Your weapons are primitive," the lead alien diplomat said, examining the station with obvious disdain. "Your ships are slow. Your understanding of space travel is basic, yet you have survived. This interests us." Miller maintained his composure, years of military training keeping his face neutral. But inside, he felt a growing anger. The aliens hadn't come to meet equals. They'd come to inspect their next conquest. "We appreciate your interest in Earth," Miller replied carefully, "but we have questions of our own." The alien diplomat waved a scaled hand dismissively. "Questions? Of course you do. All primitive species do. In time, you will learn your place in the greater universe." That meeting lasted 3 hours. With each passing minute, the Dominion representatives revealed more of their true nature. They weren't explorers seeking peaceful contact. They were collectors, adding worlds to their empire like trophies. As Miller's shuttle returned to Earth, he looked back at the alien ships looming in space. The Dominion had made a critical mistake, one that countless others had made throughout human history. They had judged humanity by its current technology, not by its potential. In his report to the United Nations, Miller wrote words that would soon become famous. "The Dominion believes they have found another primitive species to add to their collection. They don't realize they've awakened a giant. They see our current limitations but fail to understand our greatest strength, our ability to overcome them." That night, as the world's leaders debated their response to the Dominion's arrival, something unprecedented happened. Old enemies began talking. Rival nations started sharing information. In the face of this new threat, humanity began to unite. The Dominion had made their first major mistake. They had given humanity a common enemy. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of their miscalculations. 1 month after first contact, the Dominion made their move. Their massive ships positioned themselves above every major city on Earth, casting long shadows over the buildings below. The display of power was deliberate, meant to remind humans of their place. The message came at noon, Greenwich Mean Time. People of Earth, the Dominion Supreme Commander's voice boomed through every communication device on the planet. Your evaluation period has ended. We have determined that your world will make an acceptable addition to our empire. In the Pentagon's war room, General Mark Roberts watched the transmission with narrowed eyes. Around him, military leaders from Russia, China, India, and other major powers sat in unusual unity. The old rivalry seemed small now. We offer you a simple choice, the alien commander continued. Submit to Dominion rule within 30 Earth days, or face extinction. Those who submit will be allowed to maintain limited self-governance under our supervision. Those who resist will be eliminated. The room erupted in angry murmurs. The Russian general slammed his fist on the table. The Chinese admiral stood up, face red with anger. But it was the normally quiet Japanese representative who spoke first. They think they're being generous, she said, her voice cold. They expect us to be grateful. General Roberts nodded. They expect us to break. He looked around the room. They don't know humans very well, do they? The next 24 hours showed the Dominion something they had never seen before. Instead of fighting among themselves for the best terms of surrender, Earth's nations began to unite. Old enemies opened secure communication channels. Decades-old secrets were shared. Military resources were pooled. In a historic moment, the United Nations convened an emergency session. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth voted unanimously on a resolution. Humanity would not submit. The Dominion's response was predictable. Their ships began moving into attack positions. They expected panic. They expected chaos. They expected humanity to fracture under pressure. Instead, they watched in confusion as humans worked with unprecedented cooperation. Chinese scientists shared breakthrough research with American engineers. Russian military strategists worked alongside British commanders. Indian tech experts collaborated with Iranian developers. Your species continues to puzzle us, the Dominion ambassador said during the last diplomatic meeting. You cannot hope to resist. Your technology is inferior. Your military might is insignificant, yet you choose defiance. Captain Miller, now serving as Earth's chief negotiator, smiled for the first time since the talks began. You're right about one thing, he said. We do choose defiance. We always have. Against stronger enemies, against impossible odds, humanity has always chosen to fight back. The ambassador's metallic scales bristled. You will regret this decision. We have conquered species far more advanced than yours. Maybe, Miller replied. But you've never tried to conquer humans before. As the 30-day deadline approached, humanity showed its true nature. Underground bunkers were expanded. Weapons were modified. New technologies were developed at an unprecedented pace. The Dominion watched with growing unease as their scans detected increasing activity on Earth's surface and in orbit. They had expected to find a broken, submissive planet when their deadline arrived. Instead, they found a unified world preparing for war. Every attempt to sow discord among human nations had failed. Every offer of special treatment to individual countries had been rejected. In their arrogance, the Dominion had made a catastrophic error. They had given humanity time to prepare, time to unite, time to get angry. As the deadline approached its final hours, General Roberts addressed the combined Earth Defense Force. They think they're about to begin a conquest, he said. Instead, they're about to learn a lesson that every bully in human history has learned the hard way. Never corner someone who has nothing left to lose. The war was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The Dominion launched their first attack exactly as the ultimatum expired. Their target wasn't Earth as everyone expected, but the Mars colonies. They thought it would be an easy victory, a simple demonstration of power. They were wrong. Commander Anna Thompson stood on the bridge of the hidden defense station Olympus 1, watching as the Dominion ships approached Mars. Her crew worked silently at their stations, each person knowing their role in humanity's first space battle. "They're following exactly the path we predicted," her tactical officer reported. 5 capital ships, 20 support vessels. They're not even in combat formation. Thompson allowed herself a small smile. The Dominion's arrogance was about to cost them dearly. "Begin Operation Trojan," she ordered. For 3 weeks, the Mars colonies had appeared nearly defenseless. The Dominion scans showed only basic structures, a few thousand colonists, and minimal defenses. What they couldn't see were the weapons hidden beneath the red Martian soil, or the stealth ships waiting in Mars' shadow. The first Dominion ship exploded before they even realized they were under attack. "Direct hit," someone shouted. Their shields weren't even up. Thompson watched as her carefully planned trap unfolded. The seemingly defenseless Mars colonies suddenly bristled with weapons. Rail guns emerged from hidden bunkers. Energy weapons, reverse-engineered from studying the Dominion's own technology, powered up. "Launch fighters," Thompson commanded. "Pattern Delta." Human pilots, trained for this moment, emerged from hidden hangars. Their ships were small, agile, and packed with surprises. The Dominion's massive vessels struggled to track the nimble human fighters as they darted between their capital ships. "They're trying to regroup," the tactical officer reported. "Their formation is breaking." The Dominion's response was chaos. They had expected to find scared colonists begging for mercy. Instead, they found themselves caught in a carefully planned ambush. Their superior technology meant nothing against an enemy that had anticipated their every move. "Second wave, engage," Thompson ordered. More ships appeared, emerging from hiding spots in Mars' crater fields. They attacked from multiple directions, using the planet's gravity to sling themselves at impossible angles. The Dominion commander's voice crackled over the communication channels, no longer smooth and confident. "This is impossible. You're supposed to be primitives." "Maybe you should have done better research," Thompson replied calmly. As she spoke, her fighters executed a maneuver that the Dominion had probably never seen before, diving straight into the Martian atmosphere to escape pursuit, then using the planet's thin air to slingshot back up at their enemies. 3 Dominion capital ships were already destroyed. The remaining 2 tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked by more human ships emerging from hidden positions. "Their shields are failing," the tactical officer reported. "They're trying to send a distress signal." Thompson nodded. "Let them. That's part of the plan." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the mighty Dominion fleet lay in ruins around Mars. Only one small ship was allowed to escape, carrying news of their defeat back to the Dominion Empire. In the aftermath, Thompson addressed her crew. "This was just the first battle," she said. "They'll be back, and next time they won't underestimate us. But today we showed them something important. We showed them that humanity won't be an easy conquest." The news of the victory spread quickly back to Earth. In cities across the planet, people celebrated. But military leaders knew this was just the beginning. The Dominion would return with a larger force, better prepared and no longer underestimating their human opponents. But humanity had won something precious: time. And they would use it well. As Thompson looked out at the debris field that had once been a Dominion attack fleet, she thought about the message they had just sent. The Dominion had wanted to teach humanity a lesson about power. Instead, they had learned a lesson about humanity. Never assume that technological superiority guarantees victory, and never, ever underestimate the human spirit. Dr. Robert Wilson stared at the twisted piece of Dominion technology on his lab table. It was part of a shield generator, recovered from one of the destroyed ships near Mars. Around him, the underground research facility buzzed with activity as scientists from every major nation worked together. "Their power source is incredible," he muttered, making notes on his tablet. "But their design, it's almost wasteful." The lab was deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, protected by layers of rock and advanced security systems. Similar facilities had been built around the world, all sharing data in real time. The Dominion might have superior technology, but they were about to learn about human creativity. "Dr. Wilson, A young engineer ran into the lab, holding another piece of alien tech. We found something in their communication system. They never bothered to protect against quantum interference. Wilson smiled. The Dominion's biggest weakness was becoming clear. They had stopped innovating. Their technology was advanced, but it was also stagnant. They hadn't faced a real challenge in centuries. They've been the strongest for so long, Wilson explained to the gathered team. They forgot what it's like to need improvement. But we haven't. The breakthrough came 3 days later. Wilson's team discovered that Dominion shields had a fatal flaw. They couldn't adapt to rapidly changing frequencies. The aliens had never fixed this because no species had ever attacked them with varying weapon frequencies before. It's like they built the perfect castle, Wilson told the military leaders during his briefing, but never thought someone might try to dig under it. In labs around the world, similar discoveries were being made. Indian scientists found weaknesses in Dominion engine designs. Brazilian engineers discovered ways to disrupt their targeting systems. Russian experts learned to crack their communication codes. But the biggest discovery came from an unexpected source. A teenage girl in Kenya noticed something while watching recordings of the Mars battle. The Dominion ships always moved in predictable patterns, following the same tactical protocols they'd used for centuries. They fight like machines, she wrote in her analysis, which quickly reached military command. They follow the same rules every time, and that makes them predictable. Wilson and his team worked day and night, developing new weapons based on their discoveries. They created ships with shields that could change frequency randomly, making them harder to hit. They designed weapons that could switch between different attack patterns, confusing Dominion defense systems. We're not just copying their technology, Wilson explained to Captain Miller during an inspection. We're improving it, making it better, making it human. The Dominion spies watched Earth's preparations with growing concern. They saw new factories being built, new weapons being tested, but they didn't understand what they were seeing. They reported that humans were trying to copy Dominion technology, but doing it wrong. They didn't realize that humans weren't trying to copy them at all. Look at this, Wilson said, showing his latest creation to the military council. It was a small device, seemingly simple. It can shut down a Dominion capital ship's engines in seconds. They'll never see it coming because it's not something they'd ever think to build. As Earth prepared for the coming battle, Wilson received reports from other research teams. Australian scientists had developed stealth technology that worked better than anything the Dominion had. Canadian engineers had created new navigation systems that could outmaneuver alien ships. We're almost ready, Wilson told the council during their final meeting. The Dominion thinks they're facing primitives trying to catch up to their level. They don't understand that we've already moved past them in some ways. The Dominion was about to learn another lesson about humanity. Give humans a piece of technology, and they won't just use it. They'll take it apart, understand it, and make it better. And they'll do it faster than anyone could have predicted. The Dominion's main invasion fleet arrived with enough ships to darken Earth's skies. Their vessels stretched from horizon to horizon, a display of power meant to crush human spirits. But Captain Tom Hayes watched the massive fleet from his command chair on the EDS Defiant with a calm smile. They still think size matters, he said to his crew. Time to show them why it doesn't. The Defiant was humanity's newest warship, smaller than most Dominion vessels, but packed with innovations they'd never seen. Its crew came from 12 different nations, each bringing their own military traditions and tactics. Enemy fleet entering Jupiter's orbit, his sensor officer reported. They're moving exactly as predicted. The Dominion had brought 10,000 ships, expecting to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. They weren't prepared for what happened next. Launch Operation Ghost, Hayes ordered. Across the solar system, human ships appeared from hidden positions, but instead of engaging in direct combat, they struck using tactics the Dominion had never encountered. Small, fast ships darted between the massive alien vessels, firing specially designed weapons that disrupted their shield frequencies. They're trying to form a defensive sphere, the tactical officer reported. Just like the simulations. Hayes nodded. The Dominion always used the same tactics, refined over centuries of victory. But they'd never fought an enemy that turned their own size against them. Begin sonic disruption, he ordered. New weapons, developed by Dr. Wilson's team, activated. They sent waves of energy that human ships were designed to ignore, but which played havoc with Dominion systems. The aliens had never thought to defend against such attacks because no species had ever used them before. The Defiant led a squadron of ships in a daring attack run. They dove between the massive Dominion vessels, too close for the big ship's weapons to target effectively. When the aliens launched fighters to counter them, they found the human ships could outmaneuver anything they sent. "They're spreading out to catch us," someone reported. "Perfect," Hayes replied. That's exactly what they had wanted. The further the Dominion ships spread out, the more vulnerable they became to hit and run attacks. The battle raged across the solar system. Every time the Dominion thought they had cornered human forces, they would disappear, only to strike again from an unexpected direction. The aliens had never faced an enemy that refused to fight according to their rules. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "the Dominion commander is demanding we fight honorably and face them directly." Hayes laughed. "Send them a history book about Earth's guerrilla warfare. Tell them to study Vietnam, Afghanistan, and the American Revolution. We learned long ago that honor doesn't matter in war. Survival does." The Defiant's crew watched as their tactics worked perfectly. The mighty Dominion fleet began to break apart, trying to chase down human ships that refused to be caught. Their neat formations dissolved into chaos as they attempted to fight an enemy that wouldn't stand still. "They're starting to panic," Hayes observed. "They don't know how to handle an enemy that fights like us." Hour after hour, the human fleet struck and vanished. They never engaged in direct battles where the Dominion's superior numbers could matter. Instead, they fought like Earth's ancient guerrilla fighters, choosing their battles and refusing to be pinned down. "Sir, the enemy fleet is pulling back," the sensor officer reported with excitement. "They're retreating to regroup." Hayes nodded. This wasn't a final victory. The Dominion would be back. But they had learned something important today. They had learned that their massive fleets and advanced technology weren't enough against an enemy that thought differently. "Send word to Earth," Hayes ordered. "First phase successful. The Dominion just learned that humans don't fight fair. We fight to win." As the alien fleet retreated, Hayes thought about all the human history that had prepared them for this moment. Every guerrilla war, every resistance movement, every underdog victory had taught humanity lessons that were now being applied in space. The Dominion had expected a simple conquest. Instead, they were getting a lesson in human warfare. Admiral Mary Cooper stood on the bridge of the EDS Victory, looking at the holographic display of the Dominion's home system. After months of fighting, humanity had done the unthinkable. They had pushed the aliens back to their own territory. "Status report," she commanded. "All ships in position." Her second-in-command responded. "The Dominion still hasn't detected us. Dr. Wilson's stealth technology is working perfectly." The human fleet had arrived at the heart of the Dominion Empire using paths the aliens thought were impossible to navigate. They had traveled through radiation fields, through asteroid belts, through areas the Dominion considered too dangerous for space travel. "Begin Phase 1, Cooper ordered. "Let's show them what psychological warfare really means." Across the Dominion's capital world, every communication device suddenly activated. Screens showed images of Earth's victories, of Dominion ships falling to human tactics. The aliens who had thought themselves invincible watched recordings of their mighty fleets being outsmarted and defeated. "Their defense fleet is scrambling," Tactical reported. "They're in complete chaos. They never expected an attack here." Cooper smiled grimly. The Dominion had thought their homeworld was safe, protected by distance, and their mighty fleets. They hadn't counted on human determination or ingenuity. "Launch the drones," she commanded. Thousands of small, unmanned vessels emerged from the human ships. They were simple devices, but they carried advanced electronic warfare systems. As they spread through the Dominion's defense network, they began disrupting everything: communications, sensors, weapon systems. Their orbital defenses are blind, someone reported excitedly. They can't coordinate their response. The Dominion had built their defenses to stop massive attacks, huge fleets trying to break through their lines. They weren't prepared for thousands of tiny targets, each one carrying weapons designed specifically to exploit their weaknesses. "Sir," her communication officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Dominion High Command. They're asking for terms." Cooper shook her head. "Not yet. They haven't learned their lesson. Begin Phase 2. The human fleet emerged from stealth, but not as a single group. They appeared everywhere at once, using tactics that the Dominion had dismissed as impossible. Ships jumped between radiation fields that the aliens thought were deadly. Fighters performed maneuvers that ignored the normal rules of space combat. "They're trying to predict our attack pattern," Tactical reported with a laugh. "But we don't have one. Every ship captain is improvising, just like we planned." That was humanity's greatest advantage. While the Dominion relied on careful plans and established tactics, human forces adapted and changed constantly. No two ships fought the same way, making it impossible for the aliens to form an effective defense. "Their flagship is launching," sensors reported. "They're trying to organize a counterattack." "Perfect," Cooper said. "Spring the trap." As the Dominion flagship moved to engage, it found itself caught in a web of human deception. What looked like easy targets turned out to be tricks. What seemed like weaknesses in the human formation were carefully planned traps. "Their flagship is disabled," Tactical announced triumphantly. "Their entire command structure is in chaos." Cooper watched as the mighty Dominion military, the force that had conquered 1,000 worlds, fell apart in the face of human innovation and adaptability. They had never faced an enemy that could think like this, fight like this. "Send the message," she ordered. Across every channel, in every format the Dominion used, a simple message played. "You thought humanity would be an easy conquest. You thought we were primitive and weak. Now you see us at your heart, past all your defenses. Surrender or learn exactly how creative humans can be when we're truly angry." The Dominion's response came within minutes. For the first time in their history, they were ready to negotiate as equals. Humanity had achieved the impossible. They had brought the mighty Dominion to its knees, not through superior technology or numbers, but through the uniquely human traits of adaptability, creativity, and sheer determination. The signing ceremony took place in a neutral location, the newly constructed space station Unity, positioned exactly halfway between Earth and the Dominion's capital world. Captain James Miller, who had faced the first Dominion contact, stood watching as history was made. Never in our history, the Dominion's Supreme Commander spoke, his once proud voice now carrying a note of respect, have we signed a peace treaty as equals with the species we initially sought to conquer. The Grand Chamber held representatives from both Earth and the Dominion. The human delegation included military leaders, scientists, and diplomats from every nation. Even Dr. Wilson was there, studying the alien technology around him with curious eyes. "The terms are simple," Admiral Cooper announced, standing tall at the podium. "The Dominion will recognize Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory. They will acknowledge humanity as equals in the galactic community." The Dominion representatives shifted uncomfortably. Their entire empire had been built on the idea of superiority. Now they were forced to admit that they had met their match in a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Furthermore," Cooper continued, "the Dominion will share their star charts and trade routes with Earth. In return, humanity will share some of our innovations, the ones we choose to share." Miller smiled at that last part. The Dominion had been shocked to discover that humans had already improved upon much of their technology. Dr. Wilson's teams had taken alien devices and made them better, more efficient, more creative. "There's one more condition," Cooper added, her voice firm. The Dominion must send a message to every spacefaring race they know. They must warn them about humanity. The Supreme Commander nodded slowly. We will tell them what we have learned. That humanity's strength lies not in their technology or numbers, but in something far more dangerous, their spirit. As if on cue, the massive screens in the chamber activated. Across every known civilization, the message began to play. It showed scenes from the war. Human ships outmaneuvering larger alien vessels, Earth's forces using innovative tactics, the final battle at the Dominion homeworld. Let all who watch this understand. The Supreme Commander's voice announced to the galaxy. Humanity is not to be underestimated. They do not fight like other species. They do not think like other species. When challenged, they do not submit. They evolve. Miller watched the faces of the alien representatives as they relived their defeat. They had learned expensive lessons about humanity, that humans would unite against outside threats, that they would fight with incredible creativity, that they would never give up. This war has changed us too, the Supreme Commander admitted privately to Miller after the ceremony. We had grown complacent, comfortable in our power. Humanity taught us that there is always more to learn, always room to improve. As the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Dr. Wilson approached Miller with excitement in his eyes. They've agreed to let us study their deep space exploration technology, he said. But from what I've seen, we'll probably find ways to improve it within months. Miller nodded. The war had accelerated human development by centuries. United by a common threat, humanity had achieved things that should have taken generations. Now, with access to the galaxy's trade routes and the respect earned through victory, humanity's potential seemed limitless. What do you think they'll remember most about this war? A young officer asked Miller as they boarded their ship. Miller thought for a moment before answering. They'll remember that they found what they thought was a primitive species, one they could easily conquer. Instead, they found humanity. And now every species in the galaxy will know. Never challenge humanity's fury. As the Earth ships departed from the space station, their engines glowing with power that even the Dominion now envied, the message continued to spread across the stars. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through resilience, innovation, and unwavering determination. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun.